teacher, Pastor Naokimi, to give the main message regarding the first blessing. Let's warm up applause to our very own senior pastor.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome again to New Jersey Family Church. Also those online, thanks for tuning in. Last week I wasn't here because I was in Belvedere giving a message on reconciliation. But today I wanted to start with sharing a few personal kind of insights from the past 2 weeks. I want to include that as a starting point for each of these messages. So, I like to start with highlights, challenges, any key developments, and insights. And one highlight from this past couple of weeks was I restarted doing, it's called high-intensity interval training. 3 times a week with base camp. It's called base camp at 5:30 a.m. So that's why I'm not sometimes on morning 21 prayer visual for those who are wondering, but I do tune in. Also, one challenge I faced, this was on February 2nd. I still remember the day. I got a parking ticket. Right here in front of the church. I was parking too close to the corner. And it's not cheap. $55. Yeah, I know. So that was a challenge. I was not really happy about that. However, I reflected, why did I get a parking ticket? Why do you think? I mean, besides the fact that I parked in the wrong space. Lesser indemnity. Ooh, okay, that might be a little complicated. I was in a rush, but anyway, it was February 2nd, so I quickly checked my books. That's what I usually do when something unusual happens, and I realized I had made my automated tithing for 2023, but I didn't start it again in January. So ended up paying a fee, 5% fee, to the town of Clifton. But I submitted my tithe for January, and so now I'm clean. I'm good. I'm good with God. My books are good. Yeah, you can give a hand for that. It's good that your pastor is, right? One development from this past week, I met with 5 young family parents, couples, this past week, different meals. It's been very interesting. My first one, I remember I asked after, talking about family, kids, work, all that kind of stuff. So, what can I do to make church better for you? And her response was, I miss Nancy. She was the assistant pastor, and And so I looked at her, I'm like, what can I do to help make it a better experience for you? And her point was that she doesn't like having to think through Sunday service all the time. She wants more feeling, more emotion. So I'm going to try my best to improve and add a little bit more emotion to my messages, but also we might have a chance to invite Nancy back. Who knows? We'll see. Yes. Okay. Looks like some of you like that idea. So I continued to meet with 4 other young family parents and their concerns, their needs. And one thing that came out of all of those meetings was this idea to renovate the outdoor space of our church to make it more family friendly and more young adult friendly. So this is still in the proposal phase, but you may not realize, but this building takes up around 2 regular lots. But there's a parsonage that takes up a third, but there's 2 more spaces, one on both sides of the parsonage that's a full kind of open space lot that's relatively unused. So we're actually thinking possibly putting in a volleyball court and basketball court and develop a new children's play area further out on the same lot. So yeah, that's coming from the young families. And I think it's possible. There's a few things we got to work out, but the main point was there is a strong desire for creating a more welcoming space for our next generation, and I think all of us would be very happy to support in that process. So that's exciting. Yeah, so that was the past 2 weeks. And I want to get into the sermon series I mentioned. I want to talk about the 3 great blessings. If I can turn this thing on. No, this is on. Got to figure out how to make sure this works all the time. That way. Okay, there we go. Just takes a few clicks before it gets working. Okay, so the 3 great blessings is the sermon series over the next several months. And yeah, there'll be different kind of topics I'll be covering. But ultimately, it's about developing or helping you develop the 3 great blessings in your life. Okay? So from concept to application, I want to make sure that everyone here is growing in their 3 great blessings. And it so happens to be, as Pastor Takino mentioned, a part of our New Jersey Family Church mission statement. So this is the updated mission statement. Maybe we can read it together, or no, that gets messy. I'll read it. To create a thriving community that manifests God's dream by helping each other fulfill the 3 great blessings. That's it. That's what we're doing here in New Jersey Family Church. So basically, every one of you, we need to help each other fulfill the 3 great blessings, because that's what's going to really collectively contribute greatest to God's dream. Okay? And it'll create a really thriving environment as well. So today's topic is on sustainable happiness. This is something that will introduce the 3 Great Blessings series. And yeah, let's start with the first sentence in the divine principle. Every human being is struggling to attain lifelong happiness and overcome misfortune. This is the first sentence of the divine principle. It caught my attention and caught the attention of many others, I'm sure. You know, I think we all want to be happy. That's normal. But it's not easy to stay happy. Did you notice? Let me ask you today, are you happy? Okay, maybe it's not black and white. How about on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you're miserable, 10 you're overjoyed, how happy are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Let's hear some numbers. We have an 8, 6, oh, we have a 10 here, 7, 5, okay. So we're on this range of happiness constantly, and I would say that moment to moment, it kind of goes up and down. Like when I first found that ticket, I was at like a 2. It's like, why? This is my church. Why am I getting a parking ticket here? But after some time reflecting and, this is just a late fee. Lesser indemnity, as Bruce put it. It was a little bit better, 6 or 7. But as you know, we all go through ups and downs in our happiness. And so the question is, how can we attain sustainable happiness, where generally it stays on the higher end. Okay? That's the message for today. So one way to figure out how to get sustainable happiness is to identify, well, what makes you unhappy? So what are some things that make you unhappy? Think about it. Anyone? Resentment? Huh? When things don't go your way. You know, when you wanted something to happen, but it doesn't happen, right? Envy makes you unhappy, yes. How about no money? No money. No money makes you unhappy. I remember Dr. Young also used to say, no money, no honey. And no honey makes you unhappy. Anyone experience being hangry? Hangry. Hangry? Hangry is when you're angry because you're hungry. That's hangry. Yeah. Rejection also makes you unhappy. So there's so many things that make us unhappy. No wonder why we're not so happy all the time, right? The thing is, one way to look at it is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Anyone heard about that? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I learned this in my science class. Anyway, but Maslow's hierarchy of needs says that there's 5 different kind of layers of needs of human beings. The first layer is physiological. So things like food, sleep, shelter, that if you don't have these needs, Sangsha? Sunshine, sunshine. Yes, we need sunshine, we need air. So these are more fundamental needs that if we don't have, definitely we won't be happy, right? But then there's successive kind of higher needs that also need to be met. After physiological, there's safety needs or security needs, like having your own property, having enough money, those kind of things are more security needs and safety. And the third level is more emotional, sense of community, belonging. Those are also fundamental needs that we all have as human beings. And then second, or the fourth level, or as you go, it's the pyramid. As you go higher, you need the base needs addressed, is esteem. Feeling proud of yourself, feeling respected, acknowledged. That's also a human need. And the final, highest level of human need is called self-actualization. Okay? This is when you feel like you're fulfilling your potential, your destiny, your purpose in life for being here on earth. So these are all human fundamental needs that we all have. And I was reflecting on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and saying, you know, actually it's kind of parallel to the 3 great blessings. And although we teach in the principle from the first to the second to the third blessing, I feel like the Maslow's hierarchy is kind of a reverse order. Having the more external dominion over all things, which is the third blessing, are the more base needs. The second blessing with family and relationships, it's all about building connection and belonging. And the highest need of self-actualization is actually the first blessing, is really finding and fulfilling your potential and purpose as a human being. We all need that also. So, how do we do that? Let us read. From the dawn of history until today, human beings have ceaselessly searched for the truth with which to overcome both types of ignorance and attain knowledge. Humanity, through religion, has followed the path of searching for internal truth, and through science has followed the path of seeking external truth. So according to the divine principle, humanity has sought to address these needs, both internal and external needs, through religion and science, right? So, for example, in science, what are some things that developed in science that help address some of our needs? Electricity, yes, helps keep things light, keep things warm, power my Tesla, Electricity helps us with many of our needs. What are some other things that science has developed that helped address our fundamental needs? Telephone, okay. Right, so communications, much easier. Even things like dealing with disease, right? Back in the day, the average life expectancy was much lower. Like 40 to 50 was the life expectancy of humans. It's only in the last 100 years that life expectancy has increased to 70s and 80s. Before then, it was much lower because people would just die off based on the plague or different diseases that we didn't know what to do to fix. So science has definitely helped us in increasing our quality of life. How about religion? How has religion helped us in our quality of life? It's questionable. Cause of so many wars, right? But according to the principle, it says both science and religion and overcoming the ignorance related to that has been one of the key factors to helping us experience happiness. So what ignorance has religion helped us to improve our quality of life? Yes?
Life is not just material.
Okay. So religion talks about the things that are unseen, not just physical things, not just having a house, a nice car, a white picket fence, 2 kids and a dog. What religion helps us explore the inner world that you can't necessarily physically see and really opens up discussion in that area, right? Before religion, in the Old Testament age, one of the key things that was introduced in the Old Testament age was law. The 10 Commandments, upon which most of even current law is actually based upon that. Can you imagine a world before law? What if there were no laws? What was life like before the Old Testament? Pretty bloody, I'm sure, right?
If you read the book of Deuteronomy, all the things God says not to do, you're going to say, what are people doing?
Right, exactly, right? The 10 Commandments says, do not kill. That means that before that law, what do you think people were doing? Killing each other. Another law, do not commit adultery. Before that law, what do you think people were doing? All the time. So you have to understand that didn't come from the science realm. That came from God's revelation through Moses to humanity saying, hey, guys, get your act together, follow these basic rules or else you're going to be miserable. So the Old Testament introduced moral law that helped create from chaos to really some order in life. And what did the New Testament bring to humanity? Living for the sake of others, loving your enemy, grace. Grace is one of the most powerful things that religion brought through the New Testament, through understanding that God is a forgiving God. This is huge. Without that understanding, our sense of happiness would be very, very limited, right? So we have to appreciate the things that both science and religion has contributed to increasing the quality of life and ultimately the happiness of humanity. Does that make sense? Okay? And the principle is very clear about this, which was revolutionary. Typically in religion, or historically in religion, it used to kind of deny science or put down science, and then science would ridicule religion, right? But the principle says actually both are part of the same whole. And we need both. We need to appreciate both to get the full picture. And that's one of the brilliance of what the divine principle helps us to understand at this time. Okay, so, but that's not it, guys. There's more. In order to be happy, it's not just about religion and science developing, okay? It says here, only then, completely liberated from ignorance and living solely in goodness in accord with the desires of the original mind, will we enjoy eternal happiness. So what the DP, or divine principle, is saying is that not only do you need to overcome internal and external ignorance through science and religion, but you have to live fully according to your original mind to be happy. Okay, what does that mean? Let's see. Let's read. This world and its desires tenaciously grab hold of religious people, driving them into the depths of agony. Such is the contradiction which plagues their devotional lives. Even many enlightened spiritual leaders, still torn by this contradiction, have met a sad end. So it's one thing to know the truths, know the internal truth of God's love and grace, know the scientific developments of things, but still, if we cannot freely pursue our original heart's desire, and we want to be good, but we end up doing bad things, you're going to be miserable. Does that make sense? So knowledge is not enough. Knowledge of these things definitely is a starting point. We need to understand. But then your practice of that knowledge, your practice of pursuing a good life, if you're not able to figure out how to do that, you're going to be torn inside. Okay? That's why we see so much corruption in the political world, in the business world, even in the religious world. Even in our own community, we see it. So how do we actually overcome this kind of contradiction within? That is the key question. So let's take a closer look at this contradiction within. We find a great contradiction in every person. Within the self-same individual are two opposing inclinations. The original mind that desires goodness and the evil mind that desires wickedness. They are engaged in a fierce battle, striving to accomplish two conflicting purposes. Anyone experience that? Anyone not want to do chores before? Let's read. Any being possessing such a contradiction within itself is doomed to perish. Human beings, having acquired this contradiction, live on the brink of destruction. It's quite dramatic, right? I know, it's not good. Okay, so the DP is saying here, that each of us have within ourselves this contradiction. You know, it's kind of like the cartoons where you have an angel on one shoulder and you have a devil on the other, and then you have to make a decision. And then the angel's like, oh no, you should forgive or you should let go. And the evil, no, take advantage of that. This is your chance, right? So even in the cartoons, they know about this contradiction that we're constantly battling within ourselves. Really, the angel represents your conscience or your original mind. And the devil represents this kind of self-centered selfishness. Let's look at examples from the Bible. For I delight in the law of God in my innermost self, but I see in my members another law at war with the law of my mind, and making me captive to the law of sin which dwells in my members. Wretched man that I am. So this was a quote from Apostle Paul. He is one of the most famous Christians who really spread the gospel. But even him, he was testifying how difficult it is to live a good life. He wants to be good. He knows the truth. He met Jesus. He's been saved. But still, he's battling the demons within. Another more practical or current day example is this contradiction of wanting to be good but being self-centered at the expense of others. In this culture, it's a very me world. What's in it for me? And people would do things at the expense of others in order for their own gain, right? If you turn on the news, you see it all the time. Robbery, homicide, rape, financial Ponzi schemes, all of this is taking the happiness of others for their own temporary gain. Does that make sense? So how do we address this? Maybe one more example. So there was St. Paul, there's this me culture, and then even within ourselves, this contradiction is like the gap between our goals, our ideals, our New Year's resolutions, and where we're at today, 1 month later. All right? In principle terms, we call this the gap between our mind and body unity. Okay, our mind desires to do something, our body doesn't always follow. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not here to depress you guys, so I'm just pointing out that these are some natural challenges we're facing. But there is a solution, okay? There is a solution, so hold on, we'll get there. We need a new expression of truth that will help us, okay? So let's read more into the solution side. The new truth should lead fallen people to block the ways of the evil mind and to pursue the goals of the original mind, enabling them to attain goodness. It should guide people to remove the double-mindedness that sometimes seeks good and sometimes evil. You know, the principle doesn't change, or the truth doesn't change, but I believe the expression of an understanding of truth does evolve over time. And so, for me, I also have an evolving understanding of this statement as well, which I want to share. I actually think that through the merit of the age that we're living in, there's a new understanding of how to deal with our evil mind. Okay? In the past, you had to kind of fight and defeat, take cold showers, and do all kinds of things to dominate this evil, selfish mind. However, I think in this new age, it's more about healing our childhood and even our ancestral trauma. Now, it's a trending word these days, trauma, but it's very real. I've done some recent work myself in this area, and I'm noticing that instead of battling your demons, it's about consoling them. It's about acknowledging those demons within, where they came from, and actually helping them heal so that they don't have to constantly put up a tantrum and lead you astray. So instead of battling your evil mind, it's about loving your evil mind. It's about caring and helping uplift that so that your natural original mind emerges. And I feel like we're living in this age where that kind of, I would say, internal technology is available to us. And so I want to encourage you to also explore. For me, in the end, it's whatever works, guys. Whatever works. So look for things that actually help you in living according to your original mind's desire. Jew. Okay, we're almost done here. The new expression of truth should be able to reveal the heart of God, his heart of joy at the time of creation, the broken heart he felt when humankind, his children, whom he could not abandon, rebelled against him, and his heart of striving to save them throughout the long course of history. So one thing that's unique to the unification understanding is that we have a pretty deep or full understanding of God and God's experience. And I think that by developing a better understanding of God, building a personal relationship with God, behaving more God-like, actually allows you to strengthen your original mind. So on one hand, you want to heal your evil mind, but on the other, really you want to strengthen and develop your original mind. Get it as close as you can to what God desires. And that's what's going to allow you to really feel true freedom and sustainable happiness in your life. But it takes effort. It doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't happen through sitting in the pews. Although it's comfortable, well, not so comfortable, but that's the first step. You need to receive and study, but you need to take action. You need to, like Shogo, expand your heart to love your siblings. You need to make effort in order to strengthen your original mind's desires. And also take time to heal in areas of weakness. So in summary, we all want to be happy. But we aren't happy because of both our internal and external ignorance and this contradiction. But we can find sustainable happiness through healing our evil mind and nurturing our original mind to pursue goodness. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to cover more specific topics on how to strengthen your original mind. And there are ways to do that to really help you get to that place of more naturally pursuing your original mind's desire. Okay, so with that, I'd like you to go into discussion. Discussion question: what is causing unhappiness in your life? And what will bring more sustainable happiness? Take 5 minutes, discuss with someone sitting next to you. 5 minutes. Okay, let's bring it back. Okay, 10 more seconds. Please thank your partner for sharing. Okay, if you can hear my voice, raise your hand. If you can hear someone else's voice, close their mouth. All right, thank you. We can cut the reflection music. All right, so let's hear from the audience today. Any answers to the question? Oh, we have Irmgard already ready to raise her hand.
I missed service for a few Sundays. Good. So my name is Irmgard, and I was thinking when you told us about the Maslow's. Yes, so it reminded me of the food pyramid, which we also changing now from eating more vegetables and fruits, and meat is that tiny little thing. So maybe that should be switched, as you said already, right? You said something like that. And what did I say? What is causing my unhappiness? Oh, if I don't follow my own, my original mind, what I know, and consistency in practicing. And we were talking about godlike and healing the evil spirit. Evil mind is very drastic. I was thinking maybe healing the hurt mind, because hurting is making us selfish things, right? But I really liked that you said consulting, taking care of your struggles, right, and your hurt, and practicing.
All right, thank you, Irmgard. I think it was consoling the evil heart. Not consulting, yeah. It's like, so evil mind, what would you like to do this time? Consoling, it's okay, it's all gonna be okay. All right, we have Mr. Bean and then Hyungwon.
Yeah, I'm Mitchell Bean. So in Satan's world, we put ourselves in our own little box, in our own little room. We're separated, but we're supposed to be family and sharing and caring. So we got to get out of that concept of the world of being separated to be as a family. That's a good point.
All right, so instead of isolating yourself, more engaged as a family. Next, hold on. Yeah. Say your name.
My name is Hyungkwon Kim, and something that really makes people like me unhappy, and what causes unhappiness, but what also causes a lot of unhappiness for a lot of people is lack of control of something. But something that I learned that will bring sustainable happiness is that accepting that you can't control some things. You can suggest, you can counsel, but in the end, most things are not in your control. Now you have to accept it.
All right, thank you for sharing that. So, yeah, part of the process is accepting things that you cannot control. But instead of being upset about it, angry about it, frustrated, starting with acceptance. And then from there, things can actually evolve. Yes?
My name is Paul Davila. One thing I used to be unhappy before to know divine principle. Before to know divine principle, I'm feeling like, I'm lonely, sometimes anger, resentful to the system, to the world. But once they introduced me divine principle, that makes me figure out, who I am, why I'm here for. The Father really, truly brought us the reborn again. Physically, spiritually, He told us what happens. What's the real deal here in this physical world? Which we must understand, no? Divine principle. Divine principle is the answer to unhappiness every single minute, every single day. Not only in our jobs, but in our family and in our daily life with everyone. So that's why we had to, I had to see all the time. Go back to divine principle.
Right. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Going back to the basics. If you heard Paul, he used to be angry, resentful, and lonely. But the principle really helped to open up a new possibility in his life. So anyway, we're going to go through more of this. One thing that Pastor Takino shared was his family relations really determine whether he's happy or unhappy. They do say, what, happy wife, happy life. Unhappy wife, unhappy life. That's my experience. But yeah, the family relations is so important as part of, also Mitch mentioned, relations, and not isolating and being by yourself, but really engaging. That's part of the fundamental aspect of the original mind's desire for beauty. So we'll go into that a little bit more later. But thank you all for listening and being part of the message today. Have a good, happy Sunday, happy Super Bowl, and your parents' birthday, and Valentine's Day this week. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pastor Naokimi.